Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change the rear wheel bearings in your Hope Pro 4 hub. So let's go ahead, let's run through the steps. Right, 1, 2, 3. So here we have the Hope rear wheel. Now, the first thing you need to do is remove the free hub off of here. Now, you can see the cassettes on there. So what you should be able to do is the cap on the end here, you should be able to pull it off like that to remove it. But another way you can do it is just put your hands behind the cassette like that and then pull forward like that, and then the cassette should come off with the free hub inside it, and obviously the end cap like that. And I'll just quickly mention as well, if you've got that, if it's on there like that with the cap in the centre, and then you want to take your cassette off for any reason, for maintenance, then your cassette lock ring tool won't go on there. You'll wonder why it doesn't bite into the cassette lock ring properly. It's because what you got to do is remove that end cap out of the way first before you undo that lock ring. Otherwise you'll end up ruining the end of the lock ring to get your cassette off. So you got to remove that first. That's just if you want to remove your cassette. So what you can do is pull that off. You should be able to slide that straight off like that, and obviously you can see the free hub will be inside the cassette. So what we need to do is, you can see the bearing on this end here, and obviously you've got the one in there as well. Now this end cap here, if you can't just get hold of it and pull it off like that, if you're stuck on there, then you can either put a pair of soft jaws in the vise and then clamp that in the vise and then pull up on the wheel and it'll pull that off. Or if you get a piece of cloth there and just put over it like that, and then get yourself a pair of pliers or slip jaws on there. So with a cloth on the end, what you do is put the cloth on there and then hold on to the end of it like that, then pull out this way to remove it. That's another way to get it to come off, but whatever happens you got to remove that as well. So you can see there's a shield there, dust shield, and the bearings behind that there. So like I said, there's a seal there on this side, so I've just got a screwdriver there. This is bent round on the end slightly, so you can just get behind that, and behind that dirt shield there, and then just flick that out like that. So you have that, and then you can see the bearing there. And on the opposite side, on the free hub side, there'll just be a little washer down in there, so you just remove that and keep that to one side with the other bits. So then we go ahead and knock the bearings out. So I've got two blocks of wood there, equal heights, on the floor. So if you've got a real sturdy bench, you can put those blocks of wood on a bench. So using the wood there to protect the hub, etc., from any damage. So what you do then is just get the wheel light down on this rotor side. So we're going to knock this axle down through, and that bearing will come out of that side. And say if you look, the bearing can come down, the axle's flush on the end there, the bearing's just up inside. So the blocks of wood are just going to sit either side of there like that, allowing enough room for obviously the axle to come down and the bearing to come down as well. So you just put that on there, and then the axle on the end, don't hit that with a normal hammer. Just use a rubber mallet or a soft blow hammer on the end of there, because that's aluminium. The shaft, the axle's aluminium, so you don't want to damage that. because you won't get your freer body back on there. So we just hold that in place like that and then hit down on that. So we have the axle with the bearing on there. So now we go ahead and get the bearing out from the free hub side. So for the right hand side bearing, all we're going to do is with a single block there, just lie that down on there, rest it on there, and then get yourself a 14mm socket. You can use an extension on it as well if you haven't got a, if you only got a short socket, you put an extension on it if you haven't got a long one, like that. And then just put that down the centre of the hub and rest it on the bearing in the bottom. And you hit that down through like that. And there's the bearing. So you've now got an empty hub. So what you want to do is clean up inside the hub any old grease and dirt in there. Clean that out properly, thoroughly first. Clean up your end caps and that as well. And then if you get yourself some new bearings, what I'll do is I'll put the size of the bearings in the description below, so you know what they are to use in the hub. So we've got the hub cleaned up, so first thing you do is just put a smear of grease around where that bearing is going to sit in the right hand side, free hub side. And then with your new bearing, just put a quick coat of grease around there, the outside, and then on the side that's going to be inside the hub, what you don't see, just put some grease over the face of it, like that, just to help keep the moisture out of it. And then what we do is we just sit that bearing over there like that. Make sure it's going in square, it's not going in at an angle or anything like that. So what we do is we push that one in first. Okay, make sure it's going in, it's going to go in square, it's not going in at an angle or anything. And just go ahead and push that in until it stops, like that. And just back the tool off, then we can go ahead and put the axle through. So before you put your axle through, just put some grease there where the bearing's going to sit on that side, and then on the disc side there, just put some over there while you can get to it, like that, and then put it back through from your disc side. See the long side sticking through first, push that in like that. And we go ahead and get this bearing in the disc rotor side. So we just put a little smear of grease around there. And then again with the bearing, just put a bit of grease around the outside. Then again the face that you're not going to see, put some grease over that. It's inside the hub. And we just get the bearing, pop that in place, and then just offer it up, push it in as far as you can to start with by hand, and then with this side you've got the axle sticking through, so it's just slightly different combination on there to get that bearing to go in. On the combination on the press to get it to, so it doesn't hit the axle before the bearing goes in, and just make sure it's going in square. Just press that one into place. So now we've got the bearing in there, all we've got to do is put some grease over the face of it and just around the end of the axle, and then with your dirt seal you should just be able to push that back in by hand there, and then your end cap, just make sure you put some grease up inside the end of it, because there's no ring on there in the end there. Just put some grease around in there before you pop the cap back on, like that. And then on the freehub side, just grease over the axle before you put the freehub back on. Then your washer that came off, slide that down to the bottom like that, and then we're ready to slide the freehub back on there. So before you put the freehub on, obviously clean it up, put some grease down inside as well, and also you can check the bearings in this as well. Just stick it on your finger and just spin it, make sure all the bearings are good and they're not feeling rough or anything. Also make sure you just put some grease over the axle before you slide it on, and you go ahead and slide that back on like that. Just push it in and anti-clockwise at the same time to get it to engage, and then with the end cap again, just put some grease around it on the end where it's going to sit, and then you can pop that back on. Remember again that if you haven't got a cassette on there, put your cassette on first and then put this on after you've got your cassette on there, and the lock ring done up before you put that on and back in the bike. So there's the cassette fitted back on, so that's the bearings and everything fitted back together now. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.